Hello MMA friends, my name is Brian Nichols. Welcome back to another UFC event reaction video. Today I'm reacting to the UFC Fight Night Munhoz versus Edgar. It just finished today, August 22nd, 2020, and it just finished about 10 minutes ago. Damn. I know a lot of people were talking about this card. It was kind of falling apart. Like, I'm looking at the Tapology page. Let me just scroll down. Listen to this, right? Canceled and fizzled bouts. I'm just going to count how many are listed here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights were pulled or modified on this card. I want to say somebody, like 2 fighters, yeah, Dwight Grant and Daniel Rodriguez, like they had their fights, their competitors fall off, and they're both 170, so they got matched up. So it's just all these changes on the card. It was crazy. So it wasn't a stat card at all. It still had pretty good action. I give this card a good... I feel like I always give this a 7. I feel like a 7's like good, you know? 7 out of 10. So let's start with the main event. Obviously, before I start, if you haven't seen the result or the fights or the results, go watch them and then come back. So let's talk about the main event. We have Frankie Edgar defeating Pedro Munhoz with a 5-round split decision. I actually scored this 3-2 for Pedro, and this is how I went for round to round. I did round 1 Pedro. Pedro, I feel like, did really well in round 1. I felt like Frankie came back in the second round, and then Pedro had round 3. I want to say round 3. Like, it looked like Frankie was still doing good, but Pedro started like hitting him with hard shots. And then round 4 is the one where I'm kind of questionable. I was like, damn, that one was close. At the end of the day, I gave it to Frankie. I had to pick one. I was like, man, there was a point, or no, that was the 5th round. The 5th round I gave to Pedro. Like, Pedro definitely, I think, won the 5th round. I don't know. This whole fight was close. And there was a point in the 5th round where Frankie actually rocked Pedro. I wonder if that maybe swayed the judges a little bit for the 5th round. But damage-wise and everything, I gave it to Pedro for that 5th round. So that's why I gave it 3-2 to Pedro. But those judges saw it differently. They gave it to Frankie, so that was crazy. Come down to bantamweight, first fight ranked number 5, Pedro Munhoz. Like, that's going to set up Frankie right up there in that bantamweight division. Let me bring up the rankings real quick. So if we're looking at bantamweight, so here we have Pedro Munhoz at number 5. Number 4 is Corey Sandhagen. Number 3 is Cody Garbrandt. Number 2 is Aljamain. 1 is Marlon Moraes. And Peter Yan is bantamweight champ. So, looking to see in the future what could be next for Frankie. Peter Yan, I don't know if it was actually confirmed, but I think Peter Yan's taking Aljamain Sterling next. I know Cody Garbrandt, for some reason, is moving down to flyweight and taking on the champion there, Davison Figueiredo. So that leaves Marlon Moraes, Corey Sandhagen. I want to say Sandhagen might have been lined up already for his next fight. I'm not 100% sure at this point. But, I mean, that leaves Marlon Moraes, number 1. Oh, they can't do that. Oh, man. Marlon and Frankie are training partners. But I want to say Marlon Moraes actually moved to another camp. I could be wrong. Maybe he's going in between. There's no way he definitely left altogether. I'm not 100% sure on that either. But I don't think they'll probably fight each other. I know they're boys. They probably won't fight. So that puts Frankie in a hard spot. He almost has to wait and see what happens between Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan. If Cody Garbrandt leaves the division altogether. Maybe if Corey Sandhagen doesn't fight, he could fight Corey Sandhagen. Hold on. Let me look at Corey Sandhagen real quick. For some reason, I have an inkling. Corey Sand... Let me just look that up. Okay. For some reason, I was like, did Frankie fight him? He had a fight lined up with him at the beginning of this year, and it got canceled. So, okay, right there. I take that back. Marlon Moraes is fighting Corey Sandhagen. Damn. So, if that's the case... So, Marlon Moraes, Aljamain Sterling. Does Aljamain Sterling actually say... Let's see if he's actually lined up next. No, they don't have it confirmed, at least on Tapology. So, that leaves that leaves nobody else. If Frankie takes the spot of Pedro and goes 5th, there's nobody else there to fight. So he's going to have to wait it out and see what happens. So it's hard to tell about really what to do with Frankie. I wasn't able to watch the post-fight press conference. I was off talking with the wife about some stuff, and so I missed what they asked him what would be next for him in the future. I'm assuming he didn't say he was going to retire with a win like that. So we'll see. But it's interesting. You know, he's number 5, whereas Jose just fought Peter Yan and now is set for number 6. It's funny. Literally a division up. You know, Jose was champion at one point, and Frankie was fighting him for it twice and lost. And now here he is ahead of him in bantamweight. It's crazy. So, interesting fight there. Pedro Munhoz, I mean, he did really well. I had him winning the fight. And so, I mean, he could probably still get another fight or two and get right in there. But it sucks for him for Frankie to come down and be unranked and get a fight against him and lose. But, you know, back to the drawing board. Pedro's still young. That's the thing. Frankie is, I think they said he's 38 and going to be 39 this year, I think. So that's tough. I feel like bantamweight's a young division. And Pedro, I want to say, was like 33, if I remember correctly. So time is of the essence for Frankie, you know. I feel like he's one of the golden boys for the UFC. I feel like the UFC likes to go out of their way to do things for Frankie. And, dude, Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling could fight, and whoever wins that could be fighting Frankie next, you know. Just to give Frankie one more shot. You know, to be a 2-time champ, not a double champ, but a 2-time champ, and yeah, that could definitely happen. So that was a good main event, good fight there. Co-main event, which was supposed to be OSP, but of course, like I talked about, that was one of the ones that got canceled. Literally canceled today. Of course, they talked about it on the podcast. Sounds like the COVID tests, one was positive, one was negative. So, and then his corner tested negative as well. So I'm not sure what was going on there, and then they were just trying to be safe and call that off. So, anyways, co-main event, we have Mike Rodriguez defeating Marcin Prachnio. I'm probably pronouncing that poorly, but he beat him in round 1, 2 minutes and 17 seconds via KO TKO with elbows and punches. This was sexy. The whole clinch and then back off and elbow, like, that was great. And then punches on the ground to finish that. That was great. I love that. Mike Rodriguez looked good, man. I know he wasn't supposed to be the co-main event, but they got bumped up there, and they did well. You know, they stepped up for that co-main slot. Granted, against a fight night, but hey, you know, make use of the spots you're put in by the UFC. So Mike Rodriguez looked good there. The fight before that, Joe Solecki defeats Austin Hubbard. This one, man, I was kind of getting hyped on Austin Hubbard. Like, his previous opponents, I know his previous opponent right before this was the one fighter that quit on the stool after the second round, so going to the third. But before that, he fought Mark, I'm forgetting his last name, Masson? Hold on, let me look at his thing. He was the Olympics... Marco Madsen. Oh, he lost to him. He was the Olympic gold winner. He also went against Davi Ramos. He lost that. Like, he's fighting fucking killers, you know. And then Joe Solecki. Like, I thought Austin Hubbard was going to do pretty well, but Joe Solecki just went in there and just pieced him up here and there, and that was crazy. And he just got on his back, round 1 submission, rear naked choke. It was interesting. I thought Austin was doing really well, but all of a sudden Joe just got it in there, and he was just holding on. I thought Joe's legs were going to get tired, and I thought he was going to gas his legs out if Austin was able to take him all the way. I mean, it got to 3 minutes and 51 seconds, so they only had a minute and some odd change left, and it would have been interesting to see how Joe's legs are. But of course, you know, right after the fight, when Austin tapped, dude, you see how tight that was? When he had that, he had it around the neck, and then his hand was like this, and then his neck was down in there, you know, clasps down. Dude, so fucking tight. When they took it off, you could see, like, Austin's neck kind of, like, get bigger and, like, finally fucking, like, gasp, and, like, it was crazy. But great fight by Joe Solecki. I haven't really heard much about him, so I'm going to be keeping tabs on him because he looked actually really good. Next fight, we had Shana Dobson defeated Mariya Agapova. This was round 2, 1 minute and 38 seconds in. KO, TKO, ground and pound. I'll say this. Shana Dobson, she didn't look like a world beater, but she did enough to win the fight. I feel like she used fight IQ. I saw a lot of things on the internet, Shana, about her not being a great fighter, saying she's the worst fighter on the roster, all this and that. She was like plus 800 on the betting odds, and nobody was counting her to win that. And Agapova was just getting the hype train, just chugging along, and she does look legit, really good with her skills, but as you could see in this fight today, she has an issue with just being 100% on the gas the whole time. She needs to go back to the drawing board and work on letting off that gas, because she did that to herself. She could have definitely won that fight, in my opinion, but she just 100% went in. And there's other fighters that have done that, and you have to take an L like that to learn. She should have won that. 100% she should have won. She was plus like negative 2,000 to win that. So many people. Imagine all those people that lost those bets. Yeah, she did that to herself there. She'll learn. And Shana, dude, she did what she had to do. She had to weather that first round storm. And you could see it then. And towards the end of the first round, you could see Agapova breathing really hard. And Shana was breathing hard too. And I told my buddies I was watching the fights with, I was like, dude, Agapova needs to go to the corner and suck in some fucking air. She needs to relax and gather herself, because she is pushing way too hard. And you could see right in the get-go, round 2, I was like, damn, she's tired. And when Shana got her to the ground, I was like, you could see how labored she was. I was like, shit, Shana might win this. And she did, like, props. And then now she's, her record's 4-4, so now she's, is it called a 1 record? Or even record? So good for her. I mean, she was on a 3-fight losing streak, a 3-fight skid, and she talked about not being worried, and she said she used all the people saying she wasn't going to win as fuel, and it definitely paid off. So great win for her, and keep at it in that 125-pound division, flyweight. Next fight after that, we had Daniel Rodriguez defeating Dwight Grant, KO TKO punches. Dude, this fight, I don't think this fight was anywhere getting out of round 1. It could have, but they were fucking slugging. So this was KO, TKO punches. This was a great fight. From what I recall, this is the one where Grant actually hurt him, and hurt him bad, and probably could have ended it. And Mr. Rodriguez came back and finished that. It was great, dude. They talked about on the broadcast, the reffing, like letting him work. I know Mr. Cruz likes to weigh in sometimes when he's commentating, because what happened to him is like, oh, let it fight on. Like, it's all depends on the situation, Mr. Cruz. I know obviously you have a lot more experience than I am, but man, from what I've watched and from what I've seen and experienced, like, it's per situation. And in that situation, yeah, Rodriguez was working. There was a point where I was like, okay, this probably could have been stopped, when Dwight had his arm kind of hooked around and was just hitting him. And Mr. Rodriguez there was really, he was kind of set there for a couple seconds, but he was covered up. And, he wasn't like flat, like his face like to the mat kind of thing and just getting hit. He like put his arm up. He would like sit there for a couple seconds, then move. Like he said he heard the ref, and he worked out of it, and then was able to come back and finish Dwight. Like, yeah, that was great reffing, great fight, great win for Daniel Rodriguez. Next fight, we had Amanda Lemos defeating Mizuki Inoue. I gotta say I didn't watch this fight. I started watching it, and I don't think I finished it, so I'm not gonna commentate on that one. Next, we have Jordan Wright defeating Ike Villanueva. I'm probably butchering that last name. Villanueva. Jordan defeated him via KO, TKO, doctor stoppage via cut. 1 minute and 31 seconds round 1. couple things about this. Number one, Jordan Wright. If you guys watch AFC, Alaska Fighting Championship, not the Australian one, the Alaskan one, you will have probably seen Jordan Wright there. Let me see how many times Jordan Wright fought in AFC. Was it once or twice? Let me look. I want to say it's more than that. Oh, he went to LFA. Contender Series. So LFA, so AFC. Okay, he's only there twice. So I saw him twice in AFC, and then I saw him on Contender Series. But it looks like he went to a no contest. And then he went back to LFA. So he's 10-0 with a no contest. And he was in AFC back in 2017. That's where I saw him originally. Was in AFC in 2017. Then he got a fight in 2018 LFA. Got in a Contender Series 2018, no contest. And then so 2018, it was like mid 2018 was Contender Series. Early 2020, he fought in LFA, won again, and then he was 9-0 with one no contest. Then got in the UFC and gets a fight and gets the stoppages like that. Like, damn, that looked really good. He was an interesting character when he was in AFC. Like, his mannerisms is interesting. And I know he trains with Jackson Wink. He talked about working with Johnny Bones Jones and stuff and getting his input before the fight today. So that was interesting. So I'd say keep an eye out for him. I know he said today's fight was actually in light heavyweight, but he typically fights in middleweight. So I'll be glad to see him go back down to middleweight and get it and actually show us more there. But he can bang, dude. Putting him in the clinch like that. Was it that spinning kick that hit him first? I was like, damn, like right from the get-go. I want to say it's that bullshit where you look away for 2 seconds, look back, and somebody gets knocked down. But he was getting back up and put him in the clinch. That was like Anderson Silva, Chris Lieben. Or no, not Chris Lieben. Anderson Silva and, God, why am I forgetting his name? You know who I'm talking about. The math teacher. God, I'm not going to look it up. It'll come to me. And how he just had him in the clinch and he couldn't do anything about it. Frank? No. And it was almost that same shit, but I wanted him to go more to the body with those knees. I felt like that was completely open, but he was jumping up, hitting the knee. It's funny. I'm looking at Jordan Wright's Tapology page right now, and it's literally a screenshot of him kneeing Ike? Yeah, Ike in, it looks like the face in about half a second. And that's his new picture on Tapology. That's pretty funny. So, great fight by Jordan Wright. I'm looking forward to watching him some more. Like, I liked him in AFC, and I want to say I saw one of his fights in LFA. I saw him in Contender Series. I don't know which LFA fight I saw, if it was the one after Contender Series or before. But then I saw him, obviously, in this fight, and I was like, hey, that's the guy from AC and Contender Series, blah, blah, blah. So, it's been interesting to watch him come up in the rankings. So, looking forward to seeing him continue his fight. And then 2 last fights on the list. We got Matthew Simelsberger defeating Carlton Minus, 3-round decision, unanimous decision. I want to say they were this one was kind of a back and forth. Nothing too crazy. Not much to say about this one. I thought Carlton Minus was doing good, but I felt like Matthew was just doing so much better. Like, you could see how composed he was in the cage and how well he carried himself. Like, you could see he was a little more well-rounded, like a little more sharp. And I think that's what definitely gave him that win. It was interesting. Was it after round 2? They had the corner talking in Carlton's corner, and Carlton goes back and he goes, I like this guy. He's pretty cool. Like, I've never heard a fighter go to the other corner like, wow, I really like this guy. Like, yeah, sure, I will see that sometimes, like, before the fight or after the fight, but mid-fight, like, this guy's really cool. I was like, all right, that was interesting, but maybe he was just super enjoying himself. He's like, wow, this guy, maybe what he was trying to say was, this is an interesting puzzle to decode, you know? And Matthew did well, so I'm interested to seeing how Matthew does in the UFC. And last but not least, the very first fight in the card, Trevor Jones defeats Timur Valiev. And this was KO, TKO, right hook to ground and pound, round 2, 1 minute 59 seconds. So this one, if you didn't see it in the very beginning, the first fight was a banger. It's crazy. Like, sometimes people are like, oh, these cards suck. And then you watch the prelims, you're like, God damn, the prelims were good at least. Because there's still some crazy action, you know. And Timur was teeing off on Trevor Jones. Like, he got that, was it a teep kick right to the solar plexus? Stunned him, head kicked him, like, seriously trying to put him out. Again, the ref did a great job, letting Trevin kind of work. Second round comes out and just clocks him with that right hook and just finishes him off on the ground. And Timur, like, went out quickly, and the ref caught it and then called the fight. Great fight by Trevor Jones. I'm looking forward to seeing how that made him go up to 13-6. So, yeah, that was a great fight too. So overall, that's why I'm saying like 6 or 7 for the card. Like, it wasn't like a super banger. To get to the point for me to be like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, even like 8 out of 10, you have to have a lot more bigger names and a lot more finishes and exciting fights. When we have people that are new to the UFC or only have 1 or 2 fights and still kind of bangers, that's when I'll give it a 6 or 7 because it was still exciting. You know, I still enjoyed the fights. And while it sucked that all these freaking fights fizzled out and were canceled and modified and changed, it didn't go that long. It's only 10:30 my time and I'm making this video. So I'm one of those people that I don't want to, like, don't get me wrong, I fucking love fighting. I'd love to, this is a whole different video, but I'd like to be in the MMA industry somehow. I'm still thinking about seeing if I could do like MMA management. It's something I want to work on the side because I just want to help fighters, but it's a different video I want to make. Another talk point for another time. But what I want to get to is I love fighting, but man, sitting in my chair when I got my wife, dogs, I got life going on, and to have to sit here for, let's say the fight started at 4, they go till 1 a.m. Let's say 5 to 1 a.m. That's 8 hours. Sitting in my chair for 8 hours, it sucks. It sucks after a while, and sometimes I'll miss a fight. Sometimes I get tired and fall asleep. Maybe I'm only 30. I'm not old, but it's refreshing to have fights only go for basically 5 hours. For me, it started at 5:30, and now it's 10:30. So less than 5 hours. I'm cool with that. I feel like 4 hours, 4-hour chunk would be perfect. Maybe not. We could do a little less, could do a little higher. But at least 5 hours wasn't that bad. So overall, great card, great night of fights. Let's see, what do we have coming up next week? I want to say it's next week. Yes, we have UFC Fight Night. Anthony Smith taking on, is it who's he fighting? Rakic, I want to say. Let me look at the upcoming cards. Yes, Alexander Rakic. So I'll have to look over that card. I don't know who all's on that, but that's our main event. Oh, Comain. Robbie Lawler stepping in to fight Neil Magny. Somebody fell out there with Neil Magny. Oh, Jeff Neal. I don't know about that one. I feel like Neil might take that, especially if a full camp. When was Neil's last fight? Let's look. Real quick. His last fight was 2 months ago. So he did not have a full camp. And a switch of opponent, what, 2 weeks out? It's going to be interesting for Robbie. Gonna be interesting. His record does not look good right now. Damn. Okay, anyways, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the fights. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, my name is Brian Nichols. Let's see, anything else I got for you? Have a great rest of the night. Have a great week. Hope your family's safe. Hope everybody's happy. Without anything else, I'll say farewell and be nice to people and have a good night. Talk to you next time. Peace.